Good day, everyone. Welcome to Teacher Julie channel. Hello, everyone. We have our new lesson in TLE 7, which is all about crop care and maintenance. This will be the second quarter topic and learning competency 6 and 7. This lesson is under 4 the objectives. By the end of the lesson, 80% of the learners will be able to. First is to determine the different practices in caring and maintaining the various crops. The second one is to practice the proper handling, cleaning, and storage procedures for a variety of harvested crops. And the third one is to appreciate the importance of sustainable crop care and maintenance practices in supporting food security and environmental stewardship by making a garden. In activating the prior knowledge, the students will take the 10-item diagnostic test about the various practices on crop In establishing purpose of the lesson. For the lesson purpose, the teacher will show the following pictures to the students and let them share their insights on the proper care and maintenance of the In establishing purpose of the lesson. For unlocking of content vocabulary, the teacher will There are six categories of crops: the food crops, feed crops, fiber crops, oil crops, ornamental crops, and industrial crops. Food crops, this is primarily raised, cultured, and harvested for human consumption. It may be classified as field crops or root crops. Field crops are grown on a large scale for commercial purposes. This includes the fruits and vegetables, wheat, rice, corn, and sugar cane. Root crops, on the other hand, are underground plants parts for human consumption. Example, the carrot, sugar beet, turnip, potato, peanut, and radish. Another types of crops is the cash crops. So this type of crops is sold for profit. It can be exported to other countries as well. Example, coffee, cocoa, sugarcane, and other exportable crops. Another types of crops is the feed or forage crops. So this type of plant is usually raised, cultured, and harvested for livestock consumption. Example, corn, pasture grasses. Another types of crops is the fiber crops. So this type of plant is usually raised, cultured, and harvested for its fiber to be used as a raw material. Example, the cotton, abaca, banana, and pineapple fiber. Another types of crops is the oil crops. So this type of plant is usually raised, cultured, and harvested for production of oil. Example, the sugarcane, palm tree, and coconut. Another types of crops is the ornamental crops. So this type of plant is usually raised, cultured, and harvested for decorations in the garden and landscape projects. Example, the orchids, rubber tree, and bougainvillea, and rose. Another types of crops is the industrial crops. So this type of plant is usually raised, cultured, harvested, and processed by industries for the production of non-edible materials. For example, the tobacco. Crops are also classified according to the growth habits. This includes the herb, vine, liana, shrub, tree, evergreen, and deciduous. In addition, these crops may be considered as annual, biennial, or the perennial crops. There are many variables that influence the crop production. These include the water, soil, wind, temperature, sunlight, seed selection, knowledge, and crop care and maintenance. It is deemed important to consider these factors as they affect the growth of the plant as well as the produce or the harvest. Crop production is the process because it involves several steps wherein farmers should take precautionary measures at each step. The farmers should also consider the external conditions and factors to achieve bountiful harvest. Thus, farmers should have sufficient knowledge in crop care and maintenance. The practices of crop care and maintenance are as follows. The first one is the cultivation. So this is the first stage of crop production. Cultivation, it refers to the steering the soil through the plowing or harrowing. So cultivating the soil is one of the most effective way to control the weeds and the pests. Cultivating the soil loosens the soil around the plants, which provides air for the root of the plants. This technique is what we call conventional tillage. Reduced or no tillage can lead to accumulation of soil carbon, consequently benefiting soil health and improving crop yield. The second practices for crop care and maintenance is the seed sowing or planting seedlings. So good quality and healthy seeds and seedlings should be considered prior to sowing and planting respectively. Correct depth of soil of 1.5 to 2 inches deep is important for sowing seeds to ensure the proper moisture. In sowing the seeds or planting the seedling, farmers should consider the proper spacing to allow plants on its optimal growth. Another practices of crop care and maintenance is the irrigation. So crops require water because water prevents crops from drying out, especially during drought. However, the amount of waters differ from each variety of crops. There are various ways in which farmers irrigate the crop, which is the manual, drip, and sprinkle irrigation. Manual irrigation is a labor-intensive and time-consuming method which uses laborers to irrigate water using water cans, whereas drip irrigation is the most effective way to supply water and nutrients to the crops. It provides water and nutrients directly to the zone of plants in proper amount and proper time. Sprinkler irrigation uses pipes and spray to irrigate the whole field, whereas the pipelines may be used when water is scarce to eliminate the water losses. Finally, soil and plant factors determine the irrigation requirements of the crops. Another practices of crop care and maintenance is the fertilizer application. So if the soil is deprived of nutrients, it requires management of nutrients such as application of fertilizers, manures, and compost to enrich the soil content. There are methods of fertilizer application, scattering, and mixing with the soil before planting. Another practices of crop care and maintenance is the weed control. Weeds lead to the reduction of crop yield, increased production cost, and increase the incidence of pests and diseases. To control weeds, methods employed including the hand weeding, mechanical cultivation, application of pesticides. Manual weeding or hand weeding is time-consuming and labor-intensive method. Laborers uses their hand and or sickle scythe to remove the weeds, whereas the mechanical weeding uses machineries to remove weeds such as cono weeder, power tiller, and basket hoe. Chemical weeding uses herbicides to remove the seeds. They may be considered selective or non-selective herbicides. Selective herbicides aim the weeds only with the effect of the crops, while non-selective herbicides harm both main crops and the weeds. Thus, skill is needed to applying this kind of herbicide. Another practices of crop care and maintenance is the pest and diseases control. To drive away pests, farmers apply pesticides. There are different varieties of pesticides and each of them has a particular function. This includes herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, molluscicides, and rodenticides. However, farmers are encouraged to employ eco-safe and eco-friendly ways to control the pests and diseases. This may include the production of organic pesticides and encouragement on the presence of organisms that kills pests. Another practices of crop care and maintenance is the support for climbing plants. There is a need to provide support for climbing and crawling plants such as bitter gourd, squash, and string beans. Trellis may be made or wood